Welcome to the Jew York Times. On today's episode, it is the GOYISHE Mailbag Spectacular of the Jew York Times. I put onto my Instagram asking my non-Jews to ask me any question they had. They sent their questions. We're going to be talking about Israel, Gaza, Antisemitism, my mom's friend Sharon. We're hitting it all. Plus, we're going to be talking about the Topps card that I am on and the Zoran Mamdani synagogue Nefesh B'Nefesh kerfuffle that happened with that Upper East Side synagogue. We got a couple of those stories and more on today's episode. As always, though, I am joined by my Goyish roommate, Richard Hunter Cunningham Templeton III, off camera, kept off camera because we are making sure that he can continue to get employed. If he comes on camera, we know who runs this industry.
It's over.
It's not the Goyim.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
What's going on, Rich? How you doing?
I'm living, you know. Just just living, shiving, minding my business.
You ever been to a Shiva?
No.
Oh, you gotta go.
I gotta go. Is it the place to bro?
Every time I've gone to a Shiva, someone has tried to set me up with someone in the room, which is very, very funny because there's someone crying in one corner.
Yeah.
And then you have an older Jewish woman come over to you and go like, "Hi, are you single? Are you single?" And you just hear sobbing. They're like, "I miss him. My Morty's dead and he's in the ground and I'll never feel happiness again." Eitan, are you single? Are you looking at married? Listen, there's a girl that I know who wouldn't be bad. Which is kind of nice.
That's horrifying.
It is horrifying.
Yeah.
I've been set up with girls at Holocaust memorial events. That's a real thing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's happened. One time, and this is an actual story. One time I had a relative try to set me up with someone at a Holocaust memorial thing. Yeah. Holocaust memorial things, basically, they're in a room. There's a candle lighting ceremony where everyone lights a candle, and then you say the name of a Holocaust something, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, "Go talk to this girl at the Holocaust thing." Yeah. And I was like, "I don't want to go." They're like, "Go." So I spoke to this girl. As I'm speaking to this girl, and her name was like Rachel Blumenthal or something.
Of course, yeah.
And you know, they're listing the Holocaust survivors. In the background, I'm just hearing this rabbi, go like, Yerachim Feivelbaum, Batsheva Goldstein, and then they light a candle or whatever. And then I hear the guy go, and Rebecca Birnbaum or whatever the name is. And I go, "Oh my God, that's your name." Did the rabbi just say your name? And she goes, "Yeah, I'm named after that person who died." Oh my God. And then we didn't go out.
You didn't go
We did not go out.
You didn't go to Emac and Bolio's?
No. Oh my God. If you've dated Eitan Levine, you've gone to Emac and Bolio's at some point. That's a rule.
Right.
That's a staple.
Yeah.
Rich, there's an interesting addition to the apartment that I would like to bring up.
Oh, yes.
An interesting addition to the apartment. Officially.
Oh, my God.
Guinness World Record holder, baby.
Yes.
Officially. I am the official Guinness record holder, most ceremonial first pitches thrown over the course of the year. And now we prominently... we put it
actually
right over here, baby. Look at that. Woo. We're official.
Insanity.
And then with that, this of course was the
segue.
The card launch week.
Yes.
I'm also in Topps trading cards, baby. This is insane what has happened here. I've been amazing. The issue is that Topps hasn't sent me any of these effing cards, so I've been having to buy them off of eBay.
Yeah.
I've been going on eBay and buying my cards off of eBay, and it's starting to cost me a little bit of money, to be completely honest. Some of these have cost me like $100+ or something. I know.
Whoa.
They're going for a ton of money online.
Have the Topps people, have you added them?
I've added them. Yeah. Okay. And I said, "Hey guys, can you," supposedly they're giving me like 100 of the regular cards, but I still have to go out there and buy like the different variations and stuff like that of the cards.
Okay.
There's a green one. There's a red one that I got that I'm still waiting. And there is we've not found it yet. There's a blue parallel.
Yeah.
There's a blue version of it and there's an orange version of the cards.
Wow.
If you come across any of these cards, I will buy them from you. I'm the market. Here's what's funny about this Topps trading card thing is that there are people online who are selling my cards. Yeah, and some of them are selling them for like $300, $400. And I DM them, I'll go like, "Hey, I'll buy it. But I'm not going to pay that much." They're like, "Oh no, I'm waiting for the price to kick up." I'm like, "Who? I'm the market. I'm the one that's buying them." Someone was like, "I saw that this card had a lot of views." I'm like, "Yeah, it's me and my mom. We're looking to see if the price is going to drop." Price has not dropped yet. If you do find any of my cards, please let me know. I will buy them from you.
That's
immediately
crazy. What's the highest you've seen one of your cards?
$1,000. Now, it wasn't bought for that. I've also watched the market collapse, which is very funny. The cards came out. Someone put them up for $1,000. Someone put up like one of the rare out of 10 ones for $1,000. I think it now is still unsold at $300.
Okay. A brief.
I'm like Ethereum.
Brief lightning round.
Brief lightning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an AI bubble?
The AI. Yes, the AI bubble. No. The AI bubble is what you put in your brain, okay? The greatest AI bubble of all is getting rid of entry-level positions for incoming students. You know the AI is a problem when Nepo babies can't get jobs. And that's what's happening right now. There's a lot of kids with connected family members, who can't get jobs anymore. That's how you know the AI bubble is coming.
And that could spark a civil war. Now, the second question, which really the setup for the next one, is there an Eitan bubble?
I'm due for a pop. Are you kidding
Specifically
me?
in regards to the card.
Yeah, this is
there
Beanie
an
Babies.
Eitan, first pitch bubble.
I am waiting for someone to say that they put their entire life savings into buying these Eitan Topps cards, and then the market collapses. I control the market right now.
Apparently.
That's the thing. I should re-upload them at absurd prices. Sell one of them.
Is there an ETF on Eitan Levine trading cards? Listen,
the Eitan Levine market is strong, okay? We're dominating the NASDAQ. We're taking a fucking killing in the S&P.
Yeah.
You can't be in both. You can only be in one, right? NASDAQ and S&P?
Are you talking about like...
If you're a company, you can only be in NASDAQ or S&P 500. So, I gotta LLC myself. I gotta do all of it, Yeah. How much would you pay for an Eitan Levine card?
Enough to throw a towel onto.
Thank you. You're getting sweaty all thinking about it. Here we go. This is why I want to do this episode. So we're going to start with a news story, a Zoran Mamdani news story. I don't know if you know this, but he's becoming the mayor. No one's really talking about it.
Yeah.
About how Zoran's becoming the mayor. It's not really covered at all. We have a Zoran story that I think leads into this listener mailbag thing, this GOYISHE mailbag situation that started up. So we're going to get into the story itself, but like a week ago, Zoran Mamdani had posted something, or his spokesperson had said something that was like completely incorrect during a press conference. And that led to a lot of like misunderstanding, or just like it was weird seeing the misinformation and what people believed because of that. Now, some of the misinformation I saw, I don't think was from a negative place. I think that some of the misinformation I saw because of the Zoran thing, which we're going to get into, was from a place of like, I don't know the information and it's terrifying to ask it because everyone's terrifying in this world. Yeah. No one gives an inch. The second you ask any questions, everyone's like, how dare you ask that question? What? You think you're going to ask me about that? I think that leads to a lot of unforced belief in inaccurate things. And also, it leads to misinformation, down the line. If no one's willing to ask the questions, then you kind of believe what you see online. And we all know if you see it online, it's likely, there's a bias there or there is something. So the Zoran thing happened, and I decided to put into my Instagram stories, I just put, if you are a non-Jewish person who has a question on Israel, Gaza, Judaism, no bad questions. I will answer it all. All I need to make sure is that you're asking it from a place of information finding and not just trying to like shit on Israel. That's like the big thing here, which I do think there is a huge gap when we're talking about the Israel-Gaza Palestinian crisis, is that so much of it feels like there is a hatred towards either Palestinians or Israelis when talking about it from the people that are talking about it. People who are talking about it don't represent 95% of people out there who either don't care or are unable to figure out, to parse through the information, or I've just been fed stuff that they're like, okay, I'm not going to fight it. And that's it. Yeah. So I opened up my mailbag and I got a bunch of good questions. Mailbag. Here's the mail. It never fails. We haven't done a New York Times yay die by the way. That's right. Before we start this, maybe I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit. But plead your allegiance to the state. No, I'm joking. Do you find, as a non-Jew, that you have is it hard to ask these questions? Am I reading this correctly, where I think people are afraid, or is it hard to even ask these questions?
I think it's hard to ask questions in general when you are from a group outside of XYZ group.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's just a general thing.
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, I mean, look, I'm also a cis het white dude, like, and I'm not one.
And a dancer.
And a dancer, that's right. Hold me closer,
hold me closer, big white dancer.
You know, and yeah, no, like I would just say, yeah, a lot of the time it's just like even on a self-preservation level.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Why would I even try? Like, of course, like advocate allyship, absolutely. But you know, and then it can get a bit dicier when you have people you know and respect on like what feel almost like antagonistic dueling sides.
Totally.
And in those circumstances, it's like, oh yeah, I am not going to touch this with a pole that could stretch to Adam Clayton Boulevard. Okay.
Adam Clayton Levine.
Clayton.
No, but you're 100%. Because then it's one of those things because you're then attacked for like, well, if you're not going to speak about it, then you don't care about this crisis. And it's like, that's not the fucking case. And I think that is something that both sides have done a really good job at. It's about villainizing people for even asking questions.
Yeah.
To a point where they can't ask the question.
Yeah, no. And I think, this is probably for even a separate conversation, but like it's the kind of this feeling of like, almost like tribalism, and like if you're either part of the tribe or you're not part of the tribe or XYZ this, and then if you are answering questions that might have nuance, then you're both siderisms, and like it can just be like a lot, and you know, and then maybe the attack is, well, you're milquetoast, you don't do that. Like, and it does at times get to a point for me where I am just like, it doesn't necessarily lead to apathy. It just leads to like, this isn't my conversation.
I'd be pissed. I'd be like, I'm trying to figure out the thing. Don't yell at me for trying to, gain any footing in this thing, which is so often happen. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
I think there's also another thing that happens is that when you don't humor the questions or where you don't let people have the questions, when they're just telling you, believe me, on this thing, then when you find out that there is an alternative version or there is a version that has biases that you're being told, when there's another version out there that actually has maybe a more fair version, even if that more fair version is still leaning in morality towards one side or the other, you're still going to be annoyed at the fact that there is more nuance to the conversation when you're told there is no nuance. You're 100%, you're either behind this thing or you're not behind this thing. I think that has led to like a lot of controversies where if you remove all the nuance from this, then it creates hostility when talking about it because you don't even want to talk about it. You're like, well, you fucking lied to me when you told me just to, and I say that as someone who, my Jewish day school upbringing, they gave me one side of this thing. It took years of trying to figure out the other side. It took my own research. It took me getting annoyed at the community. And it really took, until things got bad. And my family was over there when I'm over there and all that stuff. It took a little bit, of me going out there and fact seeking and information, finding. I always bring up the story of how the first time I found out about Nachba Day, it was the first day I found out that it was on Yom Yerushalayim, which is like the Israeli, one of our most joyous holidays, and it's their worst holiday. So like when you find that out, when you're an angry 25-year-old, you get annoyed at the structure that kept that side. It's not that Israel is wrong or right. It's that I'm not even told the story to decide if they're wrong or right. And that's a bigger issue. If you think that you are just here, and I do think that the Israeli side of this makes incredible, totally valid points that justify a lot, not everything, justify a lot. Not being able to have the conversations with nuance in it is the kind of thing that leads to someone being like, well, fuck you. Even if you're right, I didn't want to have that.
Yeah, and there might then be, like, for a variety of reasons, groups of people who it just is like, like they're going to be groups that, whether it's for a variety of reasons, it's like, okay, you guys are clearly on two different sides.
Yeah.
And then there might be people who it's like, okay, how am I going to spend my time and energy? Because there's going to be, who knows goodness, who knows at this point, and obviously it's always fluctuating, the percentage of people out there who, would even be open. And I'm not even saying that in a way that they then are necessarily closed, but given whatever experiences they had, it's just like, it's like they're
willing to have the conversation. That's a gettable audience. I think that there is a gettable group of people out there. For instance, I think that not everyone who went to Free Palestine rallies, they're bad. I don't believe that at all. I think a lot of people went there to protest very real issues. When we turn off everyone who has ever shown any sympathy towards the Palestinians, that is a problem. Like, that is, you're turning off a gettable audience, a group of people who do not have ill will towards the Israelis. Because there are people out there, like, there's a significant amount of people out there who have no ill will towards the Israelis, but did have an issue with, how the war had been going. And they're able to separate the government from the Israelis if you just give them a chance to do that, which is what led to this conversation that we're about to have here. I would like to start this conversation by New York Times news report. So, last week, there was the Park East Synagogue protest that happened. Basically, Park East Synagogue on Wednesday, which is a modern Orthodox congregation, had rented space to Nefesh B'Nefesh, which we'll talk about what Nefesh B'Nefesh is, which is an Israel group, and they had, set up an informational session for Nefesh B'Nefesh. That informational session got protested. A lot of, intifada chants, a lot of death to the IDF. Someone was caught on a hot mic saying that everyone inside, or any synagogue Jew, whatever, anything with Israel, should always feel uncomfortable. That was a thing that people were yelling out there, which is absolutely crazy. Jessica Tisch, I will say, has since come on the record and saying that there was some failures on the New York Police Department side of things. They thought that they did not do a good job at handling everything, and that was a failure on Tisch's side. So she came forward and she blamed herself. The problem is that Zohar Mamdani was asked, or a spokesperson was asked about this protest. And what they said was that they had discouraged the use of the word intifada, but they also, and they said, people should be free to enter a house of worship without intimidation. But, and this was a big but, was that these sacred spaces, at the end of the statement that they made, said that these sacred spaces should not be used to promote activities in violation of international law. Now, this is a lie, a full-on lie. And I know this because they did attempt to kind of correct it later. Nefesh B'Nefesh, for those who don't know, is an organization where when you move to Israel, which is legal, you can legally move to Israel. Not all of Israel is the West Bank. In fact, a tiny percentage of Israel is the West Bank. No one's moving to Gaza, I'll tell you that much. But Nefesh B'Nefesh is the group you go to where they tell you how to get a driver's license. They're like, oh, you're moving to Israel? Here's how to sign up for a medical card. Here is how you here's how you take Ulpan, which is like the Jewish, the Hebrew classes and stuff. Here's how you get your kids into school. They're basically the immigration service where if you go to Israel, they're the ones that help you find yourself in Israel. 96, according to, I will say I found this on Google. I don't know where I saw this, but it's something like this, is that 96% of the people that go through Nefesh B'Nefesh do not end up in the West Bank. They just don't. They don't end up in any disputed territories. Most of the time, they end up in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, all of the regular places that are within Israel proper. I want to make it clear also, I'm against the settlements. I do not think that they are helpful. I think that at this point, building new settlements is one of the biggest sticking points or whatever when it comes to finding stability in that region. You cannot have a safe Israel without a West Bank that is not in fucking chaos. And there are the hilltoppers that are out there, and there's a religious movement out there. They've been slaughtering sheep. They've been harassing people. People have died. People have been hurt. Like, these are real issues. There are also out there real estate companies that do hold events, that do sell property in West Bank territories. Nefesh B'Nefesh is not that. There's a subtle difference here where Nefesh B'Nefesh does not push anyone to any location once they get into Israel. They're just, if you need to figure out how dentistry works here, go out there. Getting a driver's license in Tel Aviv, it's not genocide. It just isn't. So when Zoran's team goes out there and says they violate international law, it's just not true. Now, the fight back on that, and I will say, valid here, on their website, there are neighborhoods that are over the green line, that are legitimately, I don't know if they should be there, right? there's no material support that is offered to push people to certain places. The way that it works is kind of just a list of like, here's where all the Jews work. 4% of people who move to Israel with Nefesh B'Nefesh end up in those areas, right? That 4% is not enough to make every single synagogue and Jewish school in New York a target, which is exactly what this does. The Nefesh B'Nefesh programming and the Nefesh B'Nefesh paperwork and the materials, my school has stuff like that. Like every single synagogue in New York has Israel information in it. That's just the way that it is. When you call Nefesh B'Nefesh international law violators, what you really do is you really open up the door to every single synagogue and school in New York and say, this is free reign to target them. And the thing that I was seeing afterwards, because of how sloppy this statement was that people were calling this real estate sales. This was not real estate sale. Nefesh B'Nefesh does not own property. They don't push people anywhere. They are literally just saying, if you're in Israel, here's how you learn Hebrew. That's what it is, right? So on Monday, Mamdani's spokesperson clarified that the mayor-elect believed that any violations of international law were confined to the organization's promotion of settlement activity in occupied West Bank. So they knew they were wrong in saying that the organization in general had violated international law. They knew they were wrong. They knew that by making this wrong assumption or by making this wrong comment, they had made it dangerous in some capacity for the synagogues to exist because of their Israel tie-in and stuff like that. This, in my mind, was a half-assed pullback response. What we need at this point is for Zohran Mamdani to sit in front of a camera and just say there is subtle differences between what is a bad Israel group and what is a good Israel group. If they're Hilltoppers is the name of the people that are in the West Bank that are religious fanatics that go and they cause chaos. If the Hilltoppers are having an event in New York, protest the shit out of them. Totally there. But this wasn't that. And there's a bigger issue that I think that we are hitting here, where a lot of Zoran's, like the DSA stuff that they believe about Israel, kind of work in the DSA framework, where it's a bunch of people in a social hall who all kind of believe the same things, who have never had to meet a Jew with an authentic connection to Israel, who've never had to meet Israelis that, whatever. Zoran was in those spaces. He is now forced to reckon with the fact that there is a massive Jewish community here that does have a connection to Israel that he cannot treat like this is a DSA meeting. And this was his first big failure when it came towards addressing, what had happened. Nefesh B'Nefesh, and this is from Nefesh B'Nefesh, Nefesh B'Nefesh does not endorse, recommend, or promote any specific community, location, or neighborhood to move into Israel. So, Zohran Mamdani was on MSNBC the next day and had a chance to correct it, and this is what he said.
President Trump, as reporters were leaving, you were answering a question that I think was hard for a lot of people to hear about your response to protests outside of a Manhattan synagogue. Your initial response to that incident did receive some criticism, as you know.
This is
what is your message
Meet the
to
Press.
Jewish New Yorkers who feel you won't be tough enough in your response to anti-Semitic incidents?
That I'm looking forward to being the next mayor of New York City and fulfilling the commitment I've made to Jewish New Yorkers over the course of this campaign, which is a commitment to not only protect them across the 5 boroughs, but to celebrate and cherish them. And what that looks like is rooting out anti-Semitism. It looks like increasing funding for hate crime prevention programs by 800%. And it also looks like ensuring that we have NYPD protection outside of synagogues and temples, especially on the high holy days. And I want to just say, recently on Yom Kippur, there was a horrific anti-Semitic attack in Manchester. A rabbi in New York City reached out to me and said, could you ensure that there's additional police protection outside of the synagogue for today? I said, absolutely. And I also asked, what if that rabbi did not know the next mayor of New York City? We have to make it so that it doesn't matter who you know. It matters that you will get that safety and security because you're a New Yorker. That's the administration I'm going to put together.
All right, I do want to talk.
So, it's crazy there was no follow-up there, but after that story had happened, I saw a lot of misinformation about people attacking Nefesh B'Nefesh and stuff like that, which led to me being I don't think they're doing it on purpose. They don't, whether they know or not about the realities of the situation or what Nefesh B'Nefesh is or what this means to the Jewish community. I don't think that so much of the hate for it comes from a negative place. I do think that there's a place where people have not been able to ask the question out there. So that's where the mailbag kind of came out.
Cool.
was an idea of like, hey, yeah, I got Jews out there, I got non-Jewish audience members out there who have expressed to me that they're afraid to talk about these questions. So I got a couple of questions.
Go for it.
And okay, here's it go. Number one. Is it possible to criticize Israel's treatment? Should we actually set this up like GOYISHE mailbag? GOYISHE mailbag. GOYISHE mailbag number one. Is it possible to criticize Israel's treatment of Palestine without it being considered anti-Semitic? Yes. 1,000%. You are able to. There is a big difference between Israel's government and what Israel, whatever. You're able to say, I don't like what is happening in Gaza. I don't like what is happening in the West Bank, and have that not come across as being, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. The issue is that you do have organizations like the ADL and right-wing groups who have attached themselves to this idea that any questioning of Israel is automatically anti-Jewish. Not true. Like, it just isn't true at all. And I think that is like a massive, massive thing that people have to be able to vocalize disdain for the way that the war has kind of like been handled over the past 2 years without immediately being labeled, an anti-Semite. There's ways to ask the question. If you're going out there, you're chanting at synagogues, or you're chanting like intifada stuff, that's when you kind of lose the ability to say that I'm protesting or I'm asking the question fairly. Yeah, I don't know. What's your thought on any of that? This is heady for you. I mean, this is the other thing. I feel like I've made you the token goy for the heaviest conversation of all time.
No. Not even, I say no comment, not as a way of more of like, and this is your forum, and you're answering the questions from a Jewish dude's perspective.
Jude.
Like, Jude.
Oh no!
Hey, Jude.
Hey now! Don't take my loan.
Take us a song.
As a non-Jew, have you felt like you are not able to criticize Israel without it being labeled as like anti-Semitic? Not that you like, and you're also not political, really. Like, when it comes, you're not like online doing stuff or whatever.
I'm not doing online stuff.
Only OnlyFans.
Yeah, no, only OF, baby. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. I think in general, it's it depends. It depends the context. I mean, like, yeah, I don't even want to exactly. God, now I might sound like RFK. RFK had a thing where he said, in regards to this will, I swear, like, make sense, but he said something to the effect of like, it doesn't matter what I believe in vaccines, but I'm looking for the truth. I really hope I'm not RFK in that regard, but yeah, in specific regard to your question, I would say I don't feel that as much, because I think at least the areas that I've been in, the consensus has been, like, yeah, in a lot of ways, fuck aspects of what Israel has been doing. Yeah. And then in other ways, or not even other ways, but then also being like, yeah, there's a distinction between certainly the government of Israel and particularly, Jewish people in general. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know then you start getting into areas and like there's a lot of complexity there, but I think, yeah, I mean, because just the number of, Jewish New Yorkers I know who, while they may not be at Free Palestine rallies, and some of them are, they are very much against what, has been happening in Gaza.
It's really funny because I think there's a lot of Jews also who are like scared to say how they feel in it because of the ostracization from them.
Identify like either sides, or maybe even in some certain contexts. Even
what side are
Jewish.
you in?
What side am I in? I'm on my side. I'm on AI's gonna take us all down anyway. So I'm a smoker to weed. I don't even smoke weed.
No, that is kind of funny to be like having this conversation knowing that Russia is going to nuke us any moment now.
Yeah, and like, AI 2027, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's like
Project 2048.
There is this is the I swear this is the last like existential thing I'll throw out there.
Throw it all
is for it's easy to disassociate these days.
Yes.
It's just easy to, and whether, by disassociate, I mean to disassociate and like, again, like also, then you also have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, what am I doing at this point in history? What degree am I serving my own needs? How is this serving my mental health in terms of engaging in these conversations or not engaging in these conversations? Realizing that in some people's eyes, you might be the royal you, but one might be, looked at as a villain for XYZ reasons. And like, there is one like, nuanced part where I think people are being anti-Semitic but not realizing it, and this is where it crosses the line for me. Is only talking about Israel versus other stuff that's out there. For instance, like Sudan and Yemen and stuff like there's other catastrophes that are going on. And sometimes that's the only time I haven't been able to like wrap my head around like how like that is anti-Semitic. Like it feels anti-Semitic. The only reason, the only thing you care about, you can criticize Israel or whatever, but to ignore other things that are happening, that's the only time that on my mind I'm like, well, you're really focusing a lot. Like, why is Greta not talked about the Sudan stuff? Right.
Like where there were a lot of people with a lot of, I'm not even angry that they're being anti-Semitic about it, but I'm like, you have a platform and a following. Yes, it's anti-Semitic. I do think that Greta is being anti-Semitic, like fully. I think that she's had an unnatural obsession with it, whether that's because she's been getting richer or clickbaits or stuff like that. That's a whole other conversation. That's a means to an end. Is it being anti-Semitic a means to, pushing your own personal profile? Sometimes, yes. And with her, I'm like, you could easily bring water to Yemen. Like, there's ways that you can kind of fix the thing. If your entire personality and your entire activist life is geared towards just Israel, especially at the point we're at now, where things, of course, are still a disaster over there, but, things have died down in a way where there's other places that have not died down. If you're still focusing on only this one thing, then I do think that there is some introspection that needs to happen. Like, you do need to look inside yourself and be like, okay, why am I only thinking about Israel? Is it because I'm only getting my information from one place? Okay, what's that place? Is that place, if you go to Al Jazeera, it's like there's no other crises happening in the world. If I'm only getting my information from one place and I'm, because of that, only talking about one thing, and that thing happens to always just be anti-Israel, then at some point you really got to ask yourself, like, well, what am I actually saying about this? Why am I only talking about this?
Yeah.
You might be an anti-Semite. You might be a neo-Nazi. No,
the Jeff Foxworthy.
I bet there were some people in Germany who were big like Nazi fans, and then like halfway through were like, wait a second.
Right.
That's what I like?
Yeah.
No.
And like that, that feeling that potential accusation can be lobbed in kind of every direction.
Who's a fucking idiot? That Obama speechwriter. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh man, we should save this for another episode. She's like, you can't even have a conversation with Jewish kids anymore because they're just watching Gaza footage all day on TikTok. And I'm like, that is the problem. Maybe you should.
Maybe. One. Again, this is not. In any way an excuse. I mean, one potential reason can be, as you alluded to, is just is coverage of a first world country versus other countries. And you can even link that even deeper into a variety of things. Like you can link that, in terms of goodness.
Coverage that's a really good point also, is that media coverage. A lot of this coverage. If Israel gets clicks,
and like, and like what I don't don't know, algorithmically, otherwise, but
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera.
You got the
Al
algorithm.
Jazeera
Here's the two
admittedly.
things that Israel is fighting: the algorithm and Al Jazeera
Hey.
and Al Qaeda.
Oh, that's right. And Al from Home Improvement.
Yeah, Al Sharpton.
Yeah, Al
No.
Sharpton. You know, so like, yeah, I man, fuck.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing about that. Are you ready for the next question? Because holy shit. I'll give you you ready for this? Yeah. Do Israelis want Gaza and the West Bank to be areas of Palestinian sovereignty? Rich, what do you think about this?
Yikes.
Okay, here's what I will say. Gaza, I got no idea, and no one has any idea what is going to happen there. I think that the Israelis are so split. They're still 2.5 years, whatever, removed from October 7th. There's nothing there. Like, we cannot have a conversation about the sovereignty of Gaza in the current situation that it is in. The big disaster that we are kind of watching happening in Gaza was that they got the hostages out. And when they got the hostages out, there was part of this big, UN Board of Defense. Trump got a coalition of countries that came together. Indonesia was like, we're going to send a force. Like America was going to send, everyone was going to send a force there. There's going to be a peacekeeping situation in order to keep Gaza from going crazy. And what happened? And they were like, it's going to happen right when the hostages get out. That's when the coalition is going to come in. And that's when, and that's when we're going to keep Hamas from taking over Gaza. That did not happen. Shocker. What ended up happening was that they got the hostages out. They're still in the process of getting the bodies of the hostages out. Today, one other body got out. And that peacekeeping force that was supposed to stabilize Gaza just hasn't shown up yet. It was not, there was a paper plan to just get it to a point, which may have been tactful. That may have been Jared Kushner looking at the situation being like, okay, if there's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, in order to getting that region to calm down, then we can't do 1, 2, 3, 4 at once. What we can do is 1, rip the Band-Aid. 2, rip the Band-Aid. 3, rip the Band-Aid. The problem is that thus far we've only ripped Band-Aid 1, and we've let the other wounds fester there. So I don't know if anyone has any idea of what to do to Gaza next. But it's whatever happens next, it's going to be completely different than whatever happened before it. And next week, I will give a little plug. I had a conversation with Ahmed Al-Khatib, who is one of, I hope I got his name right. Don't cancel me. I had a conversation with him. He's one of the biggest Palestinian rights activists in America. And we had a great conversation about the future of Gaza. So check out that conversation next week. I think that is probably a better answer for this conversation because I had him with someone whose family's over there. His brother runs medical stuff out there. So I would say that's the conversation when it comes to Gaza. The West Bank. Hybe-dibey. Let's get into the West Bank. And I will say this. Everything that I say on this podcast, go and find the alternative view to what I am saying. Do your own research, okay? I guarantee you that I'm probably going to get small stuff wrong during this. The biggest way to fight misinformation and to give yourself a better understanding of what is happening there is get every single ounce of perspective on both sides. You should be in Fox News world and you should be in Al Jazeera world. CNN, OAN. Candace Owens, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach. You have to be getting it. So I will say, okay, what I'm going to say next, okay. West Bank, Palestinian sovereignty. Do you know how the West Bank became what it is now? You ever think about that?
Go for it.
Do you know this is like a kind of thing? You ever think about it?
I wouldn't want to even try to explain.
It's crazy. Yeah. 67 happened. 67 was a 6-day war. To that point, Egypt controlled Gaza and Jordan controlled the West Bank. During the course of that war, Israel takes the West Bank, right? And we can yada, yada, yada it. But essentially what happens is Intifada 1 in the 90s, a series of bombings, stabbings, lynch, gun, people die. And then IDF responds and more Palestinians die. That was Intifada 1. Intifada 2 happens, starts more bloody. Tons of Jews die. Tons of Palestinians die. And the end of that, and that's a big bus bombing situation that happened. The end of that was they put the wall up in the West Bank. that separated Israel proper, whatever, don't cancel me, separated Israel and the West Bank, right? There was a wall set up. The complexity of the West Bank is that there are certain areas that are extensions naturally of Israel that are from Jerusalem. And there's communities that have been there for a really long time. You know, when they put the wall up, it really solidified, okay, like this is over the wall, that's not over the wall. There's a couple of like contested areas. There are also a couple of huge areas out there. Efrat, for instance, which is a major Israeli city, is over the West Bank. Do you know how many Jews, Israelis, live in the West Bank? 750,000. There is a significant amount of Jews out there. Not iffy, I would say. Certain communities, God bless them, you know, whatever. The issue becomes when other settlements are propped up and when the hilltoppers go out there and they put up a settlement on top of it, whatever. That's where the real problem happens, is that when you have Jewish and Israeli groups that go out there and put communities and put neighborhoods in places where they should not be. Now, the problem is that no government in Israel has ever really stepped in. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I don't know what the percentages of Israelis that are pro or anti the settlers, especially the crazy ones that go out there and steal sheep and just keep the region, you know, whatever. Palestinian, the Israelis don't like that. I mean, a lot of them don't like that. It's the religious right that loves it. I don't think that there is a single person, not single, but I don't think that there's a lot of people out there who are not from the religious right that are for the settlement expansions. And then you have assholes like Ben Gvir, you know, going out there and staking, and just getting in everyone's face and stuff like that. Palestinian sovereignty in that region, I think the West Bank has to happen at some point. Like, it has to. Like, there needs to be everything needs to settle over there. Until the Israeli government steps in and stops this, there can't be a settlement. We can't go to the next phase. So I'm not even going to talk about Palestinian sovereignty in that area. We can't get to the next part of it until the government steps in. And I'll tell you right now, Jews liberal Jews, whatever, left-wing Jews, there's tons of people who are fucking tired of it. When I look at Israel and when I look at all of the pluses and the minuses to it and all the talking points that make sense versus the talking points that just put us, that don't make sense, there's no justification for the West Bank stuff. There just isn't. So I think you're able to ask the question. I think you're in every right. You're able to be pissed off about what's happening in the West Bank. That's my personal opinion. So I do think when we talk, if you're non-Jewish and you don't know how to talk, if you're questioning about that, there's a ton of people that are with you on this, on the Israel-Jewish side of it. Yes, valid question. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to ask about the West Bank. I think that everyone has every ability to be like, that's fucking disgusting. And it is. When I see some kid with tzitzis and a big ass yarmulke beating a Palestinian olive farmer, that doesn't help. That doesn't get us anywhere. It just, and there's people that hate it. Palestinian sovereignty in the West Bank, hopefully at some point, I think there's a lot of people that maybe do. And then there's the argument against it is that the Palestinians have not been able to set up a government. They have not been able to set up a stable government, ever, whether that's Israel's doing or every other country's doing or keeping Palestinians as pawns in place. That's a whole other conversation. But I think the idea of Palestinian sovereignty, I'm like, yeah, sure. But I'm with you on this, buddy. And I hope that there are a lot more people on it. This is what I will say. I am with you on Palestinian sovereignty in the West Bank, and it would shock you how many Jews and Israelis are also with you on it. And how many Jews and Israelis are angry at the government for not stepping in and for squashing the tension over there. Huh? How was that for an answer? Decent?
I think we got it. Yeah,
we got it. Does that make sense? I think that's a pretty good answer to this. I also say this where I don't know. I hope that these answers are okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, again, for me, more of a layman of sorts when it comes to this. It seems like you are, it's at Eitan the goalie.
At Eitan the goalie.
Yeah, man.
My other handle, by the way, you can check it out. It's at IDF.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm the social media guy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, potentially, saying in regards to the West Bank, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be people. Now, maybe this is a bit more minutia, but do you think the people who follow you would potentially unfollow you or something like that for saying it?
Let them. I cannot emphasize this enough. I don't get paid by anyone, like except for these brand deals and when I perform. My opinions are my opinions, and to be honest, I don't think I'm being crazy with any of this, which I think is like the big thing. I think that like over time, I think that from October 7th until now, as much as public opinion may have gone really hard right or really hard whatever, I think everyone's realized that it ain't working doing that, and that there's a whole other 2 million people in this region who have to be thought about in a way. They're not going away. The Jews aren't going away. The Palestinians are not going away. I think that over time, public opinion is kind of like maybe skewed a little bit towards my end of things, where I think people do realize that there is an actual, problem, like a humanitarian problem. That was, even if you blame Hamas 100%, which totally valid and you're able to. It doesn't stop from you from going like, hey, Hamas is wrong, but like even if they're wrong, that's still, it's still a humanitarian crisis that's going on over there.
Right.
Ooh, we did that well.
Yeah.
We did that. All right. Okay, here we go. Why shouldn't, and you have to answer this, Rich.
Oh, okay.
Richard, why shouldn't Palestinians have full citizenship in Israel?
Yikes. No.
All right, I got an answer for this one. This is not an answer. Why shouldn't they? Should. I mean, like, whatever. This is the answer. Okay, Palestinians who remained. Okay, so 1948 is when the war started. That was when Israel was formed in 1948. When Israel was formed, there was a war that broke out immediately in the area. Lebanon, Jordan, Syria. They all came in, and Egypt, they all came in, and it was assumed that it would become an Arab country. Like there was a bunch of Jews there. Britain left, and it was assumed that the Israelis, the Jews, would not be able to fight against the multiple nations that were going to attack them at the same time. Israel has a stunning upset victory, similar to when the Red Sox beat the Yankees. All those years ago, despite being down 3-0, they ended up winning 4-3. It was a major moment in Fenway. Fenway is the Temple Mount of American baseball.
Yes.
During the course of that war in 1948, there were Palestinians that had been moved, displaced, who were told, you get to come back after the war is done, just like go over there and whatever. That didn't happen to a lot of them. A lot of them were displaced. So this is the ChatGPT answer to some of this. Palestinians who remained in the territory that became Israel in 1948 were granted Israeli citizenship and are citizens in Israel, though they are often treated as second-class citizens. I just saw Richard drop a full bag of cashews off camera while that was happening. That's so effing funny. All right. Palestinians who remained in the territory became Israel in 1940 were granted Israeli citizenship, 100%. So if you are a Palestinian who stayed in that territory, in Israeli territory, you are granted citizenship. This group is known as Palestinian citizens, constitutes of about 20% of the Israeli population today, including Muslims, Christians, Druze. However, and this is the big difference, Palestinian citizens of Israel, there is racism out there, like every other fucking country. There's that. Okay. Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, not citizens of Israel, and most are considered stateless, requiring Israeli-issued permits to live and work in territories. So that's the answer, is that if you were Palestinian in Israel and stayed after 48, you got citizenship. If you were one of the people who was displaced into other areas, you did not get citizenship. Why shouldn't they? I mean, they should. There's other issues. The only real argument I heard once about because the question then becomes like Palestinian right of return. That is actually the bigger question. When you're talking about Palestinians have full citizenship, in my mind, this is a conversation about should the Palestinians be given a right of return. This is the thing I researched recently. I don't know if I have a full opinion on this one because what I found was actually a surprising answer where even liberal Israeli groups were for some version of right of return, but not to specific areas, more of like we set up financial commitments and town commitments and stuff like that. people who know this more than I do have a better answer to this. I have heard the argument that makes sense to me in some way, where to this point, Palestinians have not been able to set up a fully functioning government. If the Palestinians were offered Palestinian right of return, there's a chance that they could become the majority in Israel, which would then cripple Israel's ability to have a stable government. Not that this government is stable, but it is not Hamas. If Hamas was to take over Israel, that would be a problem. Who's right? That's the complicated question. I mean, we're able to announce that we're able to talk about how this is complicated. I mean, it's the most complicated thing of all time. Having another group being displaced and coming back, subverting the voting numbers in Israel, totally valid. You can be really curious and have a lot of skeptical questions about how that actually practically falls out. Huh? I think that's a good answer to it. I don't know. It's a good answer. I think that there's a lot. I think this is also a very controversial thing where a lot of people don't know how they feel. Is when I was doing research on this specific question a couple of weeks ago, it seems that like even J Street, which is a left-wing organization, they're like, yeah, we're for something, but not full right of return. Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's complicated.
You don't say.
I got, what are we at here? We're at like 52 minutes. I got one or two more questions, and then we call it a day.
Call it a spay.
These two are related to each other. And by the way, I'm not saying people's names here. I was asked not to say people's names. But why doesn't Israel let reporters in to document what is happening since October 8th? Very valid question. I think that this is one of those questions that consistently we've been told we're not allowed to ask. And it's actually, of all of the wrongdoings that have happened in Gaza, you can argue whatever, who's to blame, whatever. This is one of those things where I do think it's a legitimate question that we've not been able to talk enough about. You're 100% able to ask why Israel is being weird when it comes to reporters in Israel, in Gaza specifically. The answer that you're going to get back is 1, ongoing war zone. 2, and this is valid, the relationship between Al Jazeera and Hamas, blurry. It just is what it is. There were a lot of people that were working for both. There were reporters from Al Jazeera who were taking place in the October 7th attacks. There have been terrorists that have died that we found. If I'm not mistaken, there was someone that was held in a journal. There was one of the hostages was talking about how he was held in a journalist's basement for a while. Actual question here. And I think that this paints the bigger conversation of if both sides are being insincere about their telling of what is happening here, there is no way to have that conversation honestly. And I think that there is some truth in both sides. I think that Israel was worried about reporters going in there who are working against them, potentially tipping off Hamas and potentially showing one-sided coverage of this and, being purposely insincere about number counts, which is a thing that's happened. The media has not exactly been fair to Israel in a lot of ways. At the same time, Israel has not been very fair to the media and stuff. There's a lot of journalists that have died there. I think there needs to be a full-on investigation as to why so many journalists have died in Gaza. That's a real thing. Are these journalists actual journalists, or are they Hamas members with a blue press badges on? Like, these are real conversations that actually have to happen that we have not been able to have, that we've not been able to ask. I think you are not being anti-Semitic when it comes to asking why there is this reporter problem in Israel. Yeah, that seems okay. I think, you know what actually this kind of reminds me of? After the 20 hostages got released, there was that thing where it was a swap where there were 20 hostages that were released and there was X amount of Palestinian prisoners that were also released. Depending on who was covering it, either the Palestinians that were released, either they were all women and children or they were all hardened murderers. The truth is somewhere in the middle of that. And I don't know what the answer is. And no one is being forthcoming about this. No one has the numbers. The numbers are purposely hidden and everything. Like, I don't think this is like accessible information at this point, but there's a big interest on both sides to make it seem like they are not at fault for any of this stuff, which leads to the last question. Is the question of genocide in Gaza legitimate? Oh boy. And I put this here because I don't know. And I think that there's a definition to genocide. And I think that the definition of genocide is the intentional destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in a whole or in part. The crime can be committed through acts such as killing, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to cause physical destruction, imposing measures to prevent births, or forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. I think that there have been times during this conflict that Bibi, oh my God, even I don't, you know, the thing is, like, this is my podcast and I'm even feeling like, how do I phrase this? There are times where Bibi has committed genocide. I think that there are times where Bibi has forcibly done those things. He's tried to remove, you know, Palestinians from areas in Gaza. 57% of Gaza right now is Israeli controlled. I do think that as a tool in order to stay in power, Bibi has committed genocide. Now, is the whole war genocide? No. I think that is the thing that is in my mind I don't know how to grapple with, is that some of it is genocide and some of it is not genocide. It started because of 1,400 deaths on October 7th and 200 hostages, something like that. However many hostages, it was significant amount of loss of life. It was the most amount of loss of life in a single day of Jews since the Holocaust. And then also there was a hostage problem that started. There's legitimate reasons why the war needed to happen. How it was handled afterwards, you know, diplomacy versus military action, 2 presidents, bombing of Doha, bombing of Iran, Hezbollah beepers, which I'm pro the Hezbollah beeper aspiration. But all of those things, you know, a lot of it happened because of the start of the war was an earnest, we got to get back our people. At some point, you know, as the war is going on, and it's clear that Bibi is just keeping this fucking thing going, even though it's not what the Israelis wanted. There were hundreds of thousands of people that would march to, you know, Hostage Square every night. And there were hundreds. It took so long for the media to cover the fact that, like, there were hundreds of thousands of people that were regularly marching against this thing. Was Bibi's side of this genocide? At certain points, I do think yes. But I think also we're able to look at this thing and say some of it, yes, was legitimate reason, and some of it was not. Some of it was a legitimate military action, and some of it was genocide, I think is not a hard thing to say. And it frustrates me to no fucking end that no one is willing to bring up this nuance here. Of the whole war, you cannot sum this war up in one word. You just can't. I also think that I think that we debate the terminology way too much. And I think that prevents us from talking about bigger issues that are happening. If the word genocide is brought up in a conversation, there is an immediate conversation about whether it is genocide or not, and that's the entire conversation, not addressing the actual humanitarian problems and how do we talk about it. I think that both sides have made their sticking point being like, we're going to call this a genocide, we're not going to call this a genocide, and that prevents, like, whether it's a genocide or not, it's bad. Whether I think it's a genocide or not does not make you not, like, you can't not engage with me, or you can't not engage with half the fucking world because they say it's not a genocide, but they do agree that it is bad. And I think that that's like the bigger issue in my mind, is that we spend so much time deciding what is this thing the bad word or not, when the bad word is not the objective here. The objective is, how do we figure out what is happening honestly, have the conversation honestly on both sides, and go from there. This is our funniest episode. Sorry for the bummer of the episode, but yeah, how's that? What do you feel about that? I almost hesitate to ask you, because I'm like, that's such an unfair question about, is Israel committing genocide or not? I have no idea and you could feel they are or feel they aren't. And I think that you're valid in thinking I think, you know, as long as you're not, maybe this is the answer. When you're asking if it is genocide in Gaza or not, are you bringing nuance to the answer? If you are just saying it is genocide without bringing up the hostages and the initial attacks and the rockets and the fact that the Iron Dome needed to be there to begin with, like, if you're forgetting all of that stuff when talking about the genocide, then I think that it does prevent you from calling it a genocide. But if you are also going out there and being like, it's not a genocide, nothing bad's happening, Hamas caused this, if they, they shouldn't have elected Hamas in, 2005. They shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. If that is your answer as an immediate pushing off of the reality and you wanting to engage with the reality of it, then that's also wrong here. Why can't we call it the Chetzi genocide, 50-50 genocide? God, either, you know what the thing is? I'm so curious. I'm so curious what people think of this episode. I have no idea how it's going to be received. I know that I've said some controversial things in my community.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you have kind of like said things that, be it in your community or, there are still going to be people on, I don't like to say sides, but say people outside of the community who might
say clans,
capital K, and they're going to be people. Maybe this goes back to the original point of it. There are people who might be, maybe there's even better gettable word, but people who are like open enough, or might be in a place, because there might also be people who are just like, I'm not even having this conversation. A genocide's a genocide. End of story. And then there might also be a healthy amount of people like, war is war. Yeah. Like,
Which I think is also such a dismissive answer, because that's the other thing is that I see there's a legitimate answer here where it's like, it's not genocide, it is a war. And I think that is a very valid, that is the answer back to it. That is 100% the answer back to it. The question is, does saying it's not a genocide, it's a war, then prevent you from showing sympathy to what is happening in Gaza, which is the question here. I think that's what annoys me the most about it, is that the people that are fighting for if it's a genocide or not are also the people that then turn around and are like, there's no starvation, Gaza's fine, what we're doing there is 100% justified. Like that's where it's like the people that are having the conversation calling it not a genocide are also the people that are not equipped to talk about actual issues that are happening over there.
Yeah, it's also, it might be a unique, dare I say, a unique-ish time in history in that you see basically wars televised. I mean, I know when you go back to like, I think Vietnam, right, was considered to be the first like kind of almost nightly televised war.
Yeah.
And
that footage sucked.
I know.
That footage sucked.
Born on the 4th of July.
Better music though.
Platoon?
Creedence Clearwater is better than Fetty Wap,
Fucking Fortunate Son, man. But yeah, I don't know. I think again, from a layman's perspective, I think like you might, whether it's in your community, brokering with people who might not brokering, but like, of all the words.
Yeah. I'm the Jared Kushner.
The Jared Kushner commercial real estate. But I don't know. That's the cool thing about this, is that you get to see.
Yeah.
And you get to say what you're feeling. And like, you even had moments of, even in times where the entire purpose of this, the framing device for this, right, was to, basically give a space for these questions. Even you, the very person you put this together, were like, okay, this is getting into, like territory. So you were like, I think you've done your best to put together something that is addressing those issues, and at the same time, things that are very sensitive. And sure, there are going to be people out there who are going to say, this is fucking stupid. Yeah. Genocide's a genocide. And there are going to be people out there, are you fucking kidding me? This is war. Yeah. What about, then you can go into whataboutism, Abu Ghraib. You can go across the board and we still go to Sweet Green. Yeah. Like, I mean, you can what about yourself to death.
I totally. And I do, what's crazy to me about this is that like, I remember the first time I did this with Eamon, who who I still talk with. We still, we disagree on stuff, but like I value Ayman Ismail. I mean, maybe I said his name incorrectly or something like that, but like we talk still. Yeah. And, I send him my questions. He sends me his questions or, and I think we are very different. We have very opposing views on this stuff.
Yeah.
But we're talking. And that's not like a thing that is, I do think that, keffiyeh wearing left-wing progressive Jews are able to have the conversation with right-wing Israel flag wearing Jews if they take the time and effort to do that. Like, I do think that we are going to get into a territory now. War's over. Now there's the next part of what happens next. It's who fucking knows? And I'm sure that there's going to be a million things to fight over at that point. But we can't just like not, engage each other on this stuff. And I do think that we have to stop demonizing people for asking the questions. And we do have to make the act of fact checking less hostile and less people have to ask questions. Now I will say, when you're asking a question to be a piece of shit. Like that's the other thing is that I do think that there's a lot of like, I got a couple questions where I'm like, okay, you're not asking that because you care. You're asking that because you want me to prove, because it was like, why? I got one that was like, why do Israelis want all the Palestinians dead? Okay. If that's your question, then guess what? I don't think you're ready for nuance on this. And I do, I don't know. This was interesting.
Yeah, man.
Once again, fact check me on all this stuff. Is there any sports news happening? Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene's done.
Right, resign.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is done. That'll be the last thing we talk about here. I'm going to miss her. I feel bad. You know what it is? Here's what I will say. Obviously, this lady's a nutcase. The Jewish space lasers. The Rothschilds did pay for the Jewish space lasers. She was 100% right about that. Mm-hmm. I have heard her talk about that the Jewish space laser was something about like how Israel had a satellite that was actually being used for something, and then she exaggerated in saying that it was used to start a wildfire. But Israel does have a satellite system, so Jews have a space laser, and I think Marjorie was actually before her time. Yeah. Come here. I felt so she resigned because she felt attacked by Trump. I felt sad for her a little bit. She seemed like legitimately like, oh man, like I liked this guy and he kind of threw me under the bus. It's sad. This is the first time I ever felt sympathetic for her.
Yeah.
End of an era.
Yeah, end of an era. I don't know. For me, I don't know if it's sympathy or it's kind of hilarious. I don't know.
It's funny. It's funny. It's more funny than sympathetic. It is funny. One of those like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I know. It's like because she was the take it from Craig Carton. She was the belle of the ball, and she was the belle of the MAGA ball, and yeah, man. If you put your, identity or even your political future in the eyes of someone else, let alone like someone like Trump, like it's gonna, it'll
hit you on the backside.
Yeah,
I think, but their relationship isn't done yet. I think that they realize MAGA is kind of like he's dying. He's gonna be dead at some point. He's gonna be out of the thing.
I know you said Marjorie Taylor Greene last night.
Yeah.
Have you done anything on the Trump Mamdani powwow?
Yeah. So here's what I will say. I think both sides. This is one of those moments. So Donald Trump and Mamdani met in the White House like a week ago. I think both sides have taken my guy won that meeting is how I viewed both sides figuring it, where people are like, oh, Trump's a power broker, on the right. And on the left, they're like, oh, Mamdani, stood there and took it, whatever. So I think it was just they like each other, and I think that there's a fondness between the two of them. As much as they hate each other, they hate each other, and I think that this was both of them knowing that they had to do something like this up top. The real question is going to be, Bibi Netanyahu is going to be in New York in January, and they didn't talk about this during the meeting supposedly, but there's a question of like, is Bibi Netanyahu going to get arrested by NYPD and Jessica Tisch, because that was part of Zoran's big promise here was to arrest Bibi Netanyahu. Yeah. I think he's going to find out pretty soon that he can't do that. I think that that's like he's violating international law, which once again, he's just throwing that law around. Yeah. The practicality of this, though, is that who's going to arrest him? NYPD? Is Jessica Tisch going to send an NYPD? Show me the NYPD officer who was willing to go toe-to-toe with Mossad. We've seen them. What's it going to show up? One of those bike cops, like, you know, coming like, you're in violation of international law, BB. Get out of here. You hear my idea for a condom?
What?
It's called the latex dome. It's like the Iron Dome, but latex. And on the front of it, it says, for your pee-pee Netanyahu.
Hey, that's not bad.
Thank you so much.
That's not bad.
That's how you fix this country.
That's how you do it. Through
Pee-pee Netanyahu.
through novelty prophylactics.
Hello, sharks. Last story we'll do here quickly. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and there's going to be a bagel in the day parade. There's going to be a bagel just 6 blocks away from... Okay, wait. Where did I say it in real life? Wait, who's doing it? Second year in a row, keep an eye out for an adorable pairing of lox bagel and coffee seated on the back of the tricycle, pedaled down Central Park West and 6th Avenue by a performer dressed as a deli employee. Lox and Java as the tricolone, which I think are characters, are known are a couple of big-eyed bodega breakfast staples. Lox is in an everything bagel with dill, cream cheese, cucumbers, slices, and capers. Decked out with lox, slice, hair bow. Java wears a take on the classic Anthora Greek style cup of coffee design spilling. Anyways, so that's it. We get a bagel in it. Okay. But they got to do disgusting Jewish food next time. I want a real sloppy gelatin gefilte fish walking down. I want gribnitz. I want a plate. I want a guy in a plate of fried chicken skins. They're doing bagels because they're like, this is how we make Judaism accessible. No, I want a cup of schmaltz in the parade next year. I want picha. You know what picha is? It's disgusting. It's savory jelly. It's savory gelatin that Jews put in, and they put vegetables and meat inside the savory gelatin. It's disgusting. My grandfather used to eat it all the time. I want a big plate of pacha in the Thanksgiving Day parade. You know those people that are doing the commentary? They're just like, coming up now. We have the Kester Hamilton walking by. Up next we have Santa is here.
Yeah.
What is that? It's jiggling while it's walking. Just a plate of pacha. Just walking through. Kishka. I want a kishka, a walking kishka next year. If the anti-Semites at the Macy's Day Parade don't see the inherent artistic value behind having a kishka walk down in your parade, then I'm sorry, but that is literally Jew hatred. That is Jew hatred to the max. And I bet that they think Israel's committing genocide. PP Netanyahu. This has been a very special episode of New York Times. How was that for you? Was that okay? What are you feeling here? Yeah.
I feel fine, man. I mean, you're airing your stuff.
Do you feel validated?
You're airing your stuff.
We gotta get you to convert. We gotta get you a nice hot Jewish wife.
To Zoroastrianism.
We gotta get you a real desperate 35-year-old Jewish woman, rich. This is what you need in your life. You want to be yelled at every day? Right now, no one's yelling at you for minor infractions. We gotta get you some mouthy.
It's called Reddit.
Yeah.
It's called Reddit.
What if we took Reddit and we put it into a woman?
Oh my God.
And that woman's name was Alana. You know.
Yeah.
If you want to marry a girl named Alana who's pissed 24/7, I'll find one for you. They're there. They're there and they're ready to play ball.
Apparently.
This is what I've learned. Rich, you got anything coming up you want to plug?
Oh, God. No.
Yeah.
Not one bit. Not a bit.
What do I got coming up? December 7th, I'll be in Chicago. Next week, I'll be in Milwaukee. Week after that, I'll be in JCC's in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. I'll be in Israel for 2 weeks at the end of December. I don't know if you heard about that. I'm going to be in Israel at Reichman University.
That's right.
Adolf Eichmann University is where I'm going. I'm in the media propaganda department of the Eichmann University. But yeah, I'll be there for like 2 weeks. I'll probably do a show out there. Yeah, definitely do a show out there. Well, it's that time. Tune in next week. As always, Barstool.